Hey, it's Greg Milby, Kentucky's Heartland at kentuckysheartland.com, sharing the stories and the people powering the Heartland. And I am super excited today to have with me the Ritchie family.
Hello.
Because it is a team effort with this Ritchie family. Rachel's Fun for Everyone Playground. We have been hearing about this thing for years at Vine Grove Optimist Park. It seems like only yesterday we had the ribbon cutting. But how long has it been, Rachel, that this park's now been open?
It's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August.
2 years in August that this park has been open. Now, you don't care about it at all. You don't ever look at it or nothing anymore, do you?
We drive by it every day, and we stop by it at least 2 or 3 times a week.
That's crazy. So for people that have not heard of this, you've been under a rock for sure, because there's been a lot of fundraising done. The total price of this project was almost $500,000 when you include the in-kind donations. But Rachel and her awesome family raised over $300,000 in monetary donations.
Yes, sir.
That's ridiculous, Rachel. Absolutely ridiculous that you guys raised that much money. So, amazing journey started in early 2013. And is that right?
Yes,
Look,
yes,
Jeff
yes.
was like, hi.
I can't remember now.
There you go. By the way, this is Jeff, this is Julie, and this is Rachel. They're the dynamic team that made this happen. So, Jeff and Julie, you guys get involved with this question because it was early 2013 when this little third grader named Rachel shared an idea with you guys. Tell us how that all got started.
Go ahead, Mom.
Well, she just came to me. We were cleaning the house or doing something, and she came to me with this letter. Wouldn't this be cool, Mom? I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Go show that to Dad. And then he read her letter and took it down to the local gas station and saw a city council person, and she said, oh, let's come to the next city council meeting and let's make this happen.
That's how we
I mean, my
started.
kids have ideas. They do. They have very nice and creative ideas. But when a third grader comes to you and shows you a playground, what makes you think that, okay, this is something that she's going to go all the way through?
Well, whenever I guess Rachel thought at the beginning that she would take it to the city council, and the city council would be like, okay, yeah, we'll build it for you. Well, it really didn't work out that way.
We all kind of thought
We
that.
kind of thought that.
Yeah,
But,
that's a good idea. We'll
That's
go
a good
ahead.
idea.
Yeah.
So whenever we got there, and Rachel got up there, and she hid behind my leg and started speaking, and everybody was like, speak up a little bit, speak up a little bit. So she spoke up, and she pitched the idea, and then I think we got our first $100 donation that night, and it just started going from there. And then we started meeting with playground companies, and she designed it. And
Yes.
Yeah. What I think's amazing about that is that you didn't just write a little letter and say, hey, you know, and draw it out in crayon and say, this is kind of what I'd like to do. You did a lot of research.
Yes, sir.
So what kind of research did you do before you even presented this to your parents?
My parents have always taught me, like, be prepared and, like, have, evidence. So I wanted to make sure that I was as educated as I could be as a third grader. So I went on, the number one source, Google, and just Googled, playground equipment. But more than playground equipment, I wanted to make sure, like, everybody could be able to play on this playground. Because I had seen kids who weren't able to play on a playground, and I thought it wasn't fair. So whenever I was doing my Google research, I made sure to look for playground equipment that was all accessible. And my first estimates were around $20,000, and as we can see, that's far from the truth.
Yeah. So as a third grader, $20,000 seemed like a lot to you when you
Yes.
started.
Yes.
And then that number just kept going up. Did it go up quick, or did it just happen as you guys were going through the planning process?
Well, as we met with different playground companies, I quickly realized that what I was looking to do was a lot more than what I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like, whenever you think of a playground, you kind of think about, like, the little swing sets you get in your backyard. And for even $20,000, I was like, what? Like, I was
That's a lot of money.
confused. Yes.
So did it grow from the original little drawing that you had that what we all see and enjoy now?
Yes.
A lot?
well,
I wanted to make sure that there was equipment on there that could encompass everybody. And we didn't really have an official layout till we got the layout that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we met with Landscape Structures, I really realized that they had everything that we were looking for.
Yeah, parents, as you're listening to this or you're watching this video cast, and you think about ideas kids come up with, and they do some research, you dug as far into as checking out what type of rules and regulations it is to be a playground that is very inclusive.
Yes, sir.
What made you think of that? I mean, that's a lot of adult thinking going on.
Honestly, I can't tell you what made me think about it. I just, as I was doing my research on the type of equipment that I wanted, I came across that there were some different things that we would have to go through, and I wanted to make sure that I was as educated as possible.
So we're 6 years in now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes.
Both 6 years, yes, sir.
Julie, did you think that your daughter would actually finish this entire project?
Well,
Let's just be honest.
Honestly, when we first started going on it, it's like, oh yeah, whatever, this is gonna kind of. And then the more well, let's do this, and we'd have a fundraiser for something and it didn't go right. She would be the one that would be like, well, okay, it didn't do good, but the next time when we do, we'll do this and this, or then. Yeah, the more people she talked to, the more conviction she had, then yeah, we can do this.
Because she was the face of this deal.
And it was her idea to do the community build, because there's families out there that can't give money, but they could come and put their hands on a piece of equipment or tighten a bolt or move a piece of dirt, where that made it part of their playground too. It wasn't just Rachel's playground, and it wasn't just this person who donated $50,000. It was that person that came to the community build to turn that screw or tighten that bolt. That's why we did the community build, and the community showed up. I mean, we had a lot of times whenever we did something, the community showed up, like the community build, the ribbon cutting. Rachel thought on the ribbon cutting, there's only going to be 20 people show up while we're doing it, and
there were a lot there.
There was a lot there, and there was a lot of other things going on that day, but they showed up, and the smiles on people's faces says it all.
Now, I think it is spectacular that the city of Vine Grove got behind this project, and really and truly that you got the ball rolling, but it took them to really kind of push that. Once you had the city support, I mean, it was very easy to know where to put the playground at that point.
From the beginning, they came to us they donated the land, so that was never part of our fundraising, was the land, so that took a burden off of our shoulders, and without their support, I don't think we would have been able to achieve it as quickly as we did. And
that says a lot about the mayor at that time, Blake Prophet, and the council men and women that were on there, and other city officials, to go, okay, here's a third grader coming in with a project. Now, it's okay for mom and dad to believe that you're going to finish a project from third grade, but for the city officials, for you to be able to sell them that you're going to finish that project, that truly is very impressive.
Thank you.
And that the first city council person that I met with down at the local gas station was Donna Spankenberg. And if she wouldn't have said, bring her to the city council meeting, it would have never got past the letter being wrote.
Right.
So,
I mean, a lot of third graders, they're doing lemonade stands.
Yes.
And they're doing yard sales for mission trips and stuff like that. They're not doing playgrounds that are designed to be inclusive of everybody.
But to me, I feel like I did it on a larger scale, but I feel like every lemonade stand and every yard sale, that's a part of us changing our world for the better. And I feel like the significance of every project that a kid does to help somebody else in our community, that's something that should be celebrated and appreciated.
Are you an alien?
No.
You're not an alien?
No.
Because, you don't make a lot of sense, Rachel. I'm from third grade on, your thought process of helping other people and to come up with a playground that is designed for everybody, that says a lot of who you are.
Thank you.
So that's pretty cool. And you've had to do a crazy amount of fundraising.
Yes, sir.
Jeff's he's over there cringing right now just thinking about it.
Yes.
What type of fundraisers did you guys have to do to raise almost $300,000?
Well, we had community yard sales, car and bike shows, golf scrambles, 5Ks, and then we even came up with some different fundraising ideas that, we sat down with our committee and, me with my parents, and we were like, okay, what's going to bring in the most money? And like my mom said earlier, even whenever a fundraiser didn't go as planned, I knew that there was a goal and that there were lives that were affected by what I was doing or by what we were doing. And I just wanted to make sure that I was staying persistent with it to make sure that this happened.
I have a sled in my house at Christmas time.
Yes.
That was part of one of your fundraisers.
That was one of them.
That was thought would only be 15, 20 sleds. We ended up making about 300 sleds for that fundraiser.
Yes.
And then charity motorcycle rides we did, and the local motorcycle groups that are around here came and supported her. They were like, hey, let's do a charity ride. And our charity rides, one, I think we made right around $5,600 just on a charity ride. And that's the small town communities and pulling together to rally around a project or a cause. And you see it. I mean, we set up many a times whenever the first Bikers Blues and Barbecue went on. Whenever they competed against the mayor, like they did a barbecue cook-off.
Yep.
And Vine Grove, E-Town, Radcliffe, they all went against each other. If Vine Grove would have won, that money was going to Rachel's project. But after that, we started setting up the tents and the booths, and you start at the crack of dawn. You don't get down until the sun's down.
Yeah.
So
So did that give you guys good bonding time, good family time? So I'm going to translate that. We wanted to get away from each other for a few days after that. So it wasn't a bonding thing as much as probably we're hoping it was, Jeff.
some days, sometimes it was, but sometimes the days grew longer, and it was like, the heat and everything, it built up, and it was like, go for a walk. We'll watch the stand or something like that.
Some of the early mornings were pretty early.
And her friends stood with her side by side too, and her friends, like whenever we moved here, the two friends that she first met was Grace and Josie Lowry, and them two, whenever this thing kicked off, they were there at almost every event.
And they're still there.
They're still there.
Yeah, which says a lot. I mean, I would have ran the other direction.
I would have too.
I'm telling you. But that's a true testament of parents too. I don't want that to kind of get washed away here a little bit too. It's one thing to support your kid in travel sports or marching band or dance, whatever activity they're doing. But to be parents that support your kids in an activity like this, I mean, that's a lot of long hours. That's a lot of plywood you cut, Jeff.
Yeah. But you know what?
And you were expecting 20 or 25 of those sleds, and you make 300 of them. I mean, that's got to weigh on you after a while, too.
It does, but as parents, we do anything for our kids. And if we didn't, we're setting the wrong example, because you want them to succeed in life, and if we don't help them succeed, then they won't. So that's why we did what we did. And it wasn't, Rachel has said this numerous times, she didn't do it for the prizes or anything or the recognition. She did it so kids could play, and all kids could play. And we'll probably get to it about the ribbon cutting day.
Oh yeah.
But that's where it's at. I mean, the fire department and everybody who showed up to help, it's just, this is community right here.
It was my idea, but it's our playground, and without my parents, like, especially because, like you said, like, they were there every day, even whenever, I was having a bad day, or, like I said before, like, a fundraiser maybe didn't go the way that I wanted it to, or, we had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to set up a tent. Like, they woke me up, and we went and did it, and, without them and without the community, like, this would never have been possible. So
yeah. And I tell you, and this is the honest truth, when the idea of doing Kentucky's Heartland came about and sharing the stories of things that are affecting our community, you guys are number one on my list from the very get-go, because this is an impressive story, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. And it's made national news. Well, we'll bring that up too in a minute. But I remember when I first met you, you were a quiet, nervous little girl, freaking out, but you blossomed into a confident public speaker, even though you're still quiet away from the crowd.
Love it.
I see you at church on Sunday, you're like, hey, kind of deal. But share with us some of your favorite things that you've been able to do during this project.
This project, like you said, has given me a lot of experiences that I never would have dreamed of without it. But every experience, I feel like I've tried to take it and, spread my message of, like, the fight for the right of play. And I don't know that I could pick one over another, because I feel like each opportunity has, you know, taught me something new, or even the ones that weren't necessarily my fondest, they taught me something new and I learned something from them, and I wouldn't trade anything that happened for anything else.
So you've been on national television, the Harry Connick Jr. show.
Yes, sir.
That was impressive.
Thank you.
I'm sure that was a surprise when you got the phone call.
Yes.
Who got the phone call?
Well, we got an email, and tell Greg what you thought.
I thought it was like one of those like scams, you know, like the Indian princes or whatever, like
Nigerian oil
Yes.
prince, huh?
Yeah.
And we got like the email on like Tuesday, and then that Friday we were flying out to New York, and it was just so fast and like crazy. And I feel like that's also a testament to you never know what to expect with anything in life.
Yeah. So I was excited to see that episode of the Harry Connick Jr. show. And then during the show, I mean, I'm watching it at home, and then they're talking about it, and all of a sudden there is a photo that comes up of the ribbon cutting, and there's Jeff, there's Julie, there's Rachel, there's the governor, and then there's this blob, this blurred out face in the background, and I was like, hey, that's me. So. But I've had a big chuckle about that, because I've been on 2020, but it was the back of my head for 3 seconds. And I've been on the Harry Connick Jr. show, but I'm blurry face guy.
Well, at least we got the front of you. At least we
Right.
didn't get the back of the head.
Well, you know.
Next time.
Next time.
Yes.
I believe that. But yeah, I will tell you, it was an honor. It was a true honor to MC the ribbon cutting and official opening of the playground, because it was a great day. It was a fabulous day.
And that your name was the first one to come up to do that part during the ribbon cutting, because you guys were there from the beginning, and you're the one that got her on that platform to help push it forward. Just getting on the radio and doing stuff like that. That's what helped.
And I feel like also like you've been one of the people, like a business leader in our community that I've looked up to as an inspiration.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
No, for real.
Okay. Keep going.
And so whenever we were sitting down to like plan out the ribbon cutting, I wanted to make sure in one way or another like you were involved, because I had learned so much from you and like had opportunities throughout getting the playground built, and I just want to make sure you were a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that, because it was a great day, and I'm sure I know how your parents felt, because I could see it all over their face, or at least half of Jeff's face.
That was another hour.
That was a horrible plan of him. For those, Jeff had on these sunglasses like he was going to be cool. But we could all tell he was crying like a baby the entire time.
Yes.
And that's okay, because I will tell you, I shed tears too, because I'm thinking of my kids. And you know what? I made the joke that you're going to be my future daughter-in-law. You know, I didn't even make that joke a minute ago, right?
You had to now, didn't
I
you?
know. I was just going to see if you bring no, but really and truly, you are kind of like a daughter to me, because I've watched you grow up, and I see you, and I respect what you've done and what you can do, because it was emotional for me that day.
Yes, sir.
It was a lot of stuff. So talk about that day and when you got to see your hard work realized.
You know, I feel like that day, like, I look back at pictures and, you know, I read things or I think about it, and it still almost doesn't feel like it happened. Like, I can go down to the playground and, like, you know, like, walk on the playground, but that day doesn't feel like it happened, because we worked so hard for that day, and it almost felt surreal, but, like, the smiles on the kids' faces, and to hear the parents and grandparents who have never been able to play on a playground with their kids before be able to do that, like, that's what it's about. And even above that, even now, whenever we go down to the playground and we see those kids and we hear the smile or hear the laughs, and that's what it's about. And from beginning to end, that day, you know, it had a lasting impact on me, obviously, but I feel like it had a lasting impact on our community and the history of our town.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It has been very impactful for Vine Grove, and you see, I see photos on Facebook of people doing that bend with Colton's, you know, and he was down there with his adoptive son and in the wheelchair, and just like, wow. But the timeline is, you know, it's hard to do it justice on the video or on the podcast here about how long that was. Because I'll be honest, it felt like forever.
Yes.
From the time that we started talking to you about this playground and the time that we had that ribbon cutting,
Yes.
it felt like a lifetime.
And she went to Missouri, and talked to a group out there also that built playgrounds. And they were like, hey, our first one, it took us 5 years. And this was like in the early phases of even doing this. And Rachel was like, nah, we're going to get it done before 5 years. Well, they were pretty much right on, because it took us 5 years to get it. But was it worth it? Yes, every bit of it. That 5 years, I mean, we had our ups and downs, but the 5 years being at the ribbon cutting and stuff like that. And I had a grandmother come up to me, and she told me, she was like, tell your daughter it's not just for kids, because this is the first time I got to see my grandchildren play on a playground, because she was used to walker, and she was able to go into the playground and see her grandkids play. And that's no money in the world could take away from what the expressions and the smiles.
None. I remember Carter, good friend of ours, church. I see Carter all the time, and it still kind of catches me where his dad put him in that swing, and the first thing he said was, I fit. He has never been able to swing in a swing because he didn't fit. That was worth $498,000.
Yep. And that organization, Lowe's, stepped up tremendously for Rachel. Whenever we needed them, they were there. They're still there. We walk in that store, and the manager and them go, how's Rachel doing today? Where's Rachel? Are you ready for another one? And everybody who showed up, they were a big part of the community build that day. They come out, they wore their vests that said Lowe's on it, and they were there from the beginning until the end of that day of the community build. And that's what we say. It's just
community.
Words can't express all of the stuff that we've seen. And I've said it before, as a parent, kids are supposed to see things through your eyes. Well, no. I saw a lot through Rachel's eyes.
Right, that's why I think she's an alien.
Yes, because places we went, places we've seen, things where she spoke at, the rotunda up in Frankfurt, Washington, D.C., where she was the Prudential Spirit of Community Award winner for the state of Kentucky. Went to Washington, D.C., and they shut down the Smithsonian and stuff. That stuff, I could have never shown her that, but she's showing us that.
Yeah. So, Mom, I'm sure people have asked you, how do you do it? Because, I'm sorry, Gavin and Garrett. If you're listening to this, I can't get them to wash dishes.
Well,
I
that's an understatement.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I might build a playground, but I don't do the dishes.
Now it's getting hot. So what do you tell the people when they ask you? Because I'm sure you've been asked, how does this happen?
We just do it. I don't know. We just did it. And we moved here in June, and she proposed it in February, and that's all we've done. And you just do it. And it's like the first fundraiser we had was the roadblock. And oh my gosh, it made $1,000 or whatever it did. And then it just grew from there. And we looked for all the fairs and festivals that we could, anything that we could do to put her in front of people. And from there she or somebody would make a contact, and then we'd go talk to them, and we just did it. It wasn't even a question of making her do it. There was some struggles for all of us to get up in the morning to do it, but we had an end goal to reach for, and the further into it we got, the more money she made at things, and okay, this is going to happen, so we need to keep going with it.
In a person, you told us, you'll have the people at the beginning, and then you'll have the people at the end that want to be the closers to put her over the top. And the day whenever we found out from the city that the city wanted a fence around the playground, Rachel didn't want a fence, but the way it was set up, it had to have a fence. And
Veterans United Foundation,
Veterans United Home Loans, they stepped up and gave her $10,000 for the fence.
Wow. The last day of 7th grade.
Last day of 7th grade, she didn't know nothing about it. I was in Philly for work, Philadelphia, and they called me and they're like, hey, we want to help Rachel out. And we want to see if there's an assembly going on at school. So I called Miss Bennett, who was the principal then, and she was like, "Yes, we can." And they came and got a hold of Mayor Prophet, and he was there that day, and it was just Rachel was probably like, "What's going on?" And
I'm sure there were a lot of those moments of what's going on with Rachel and stuff. So, and there are so many lessons. I mean, we could go hours with this thing, but we're going to run out of video at some point. But I mean, there are always excuses. You know, oh, my daughter's too young, or you know, we don't have the time, or well, you know what, I don't know enough people. You guys had just moved to town, what, 7 months before then? From where?
From Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri.
So you didn't know a ton of people.
No.
I mean, you were working with in the fire department.
Yeah, just get on the fire department. I was here about 6 months before they moved down. They were waiting until the school year ended and get on the fire department. Knew a little bit of people at the fire department. Didn't even know the mayor. Just met Donna a couple months ago prior to that, and that's how it all.
That is absolute. That makes the story even more amazing that you guys jumped right in and, wow, you know, if somebody from St. Louis is watching this or listening, boy, you missed out. There's a dynamic family that got out of there. Besides that, so you still pretty involved with the playground.
Yes.
Is it true you have the security monitors in your house for the playground?
Yes, we do.
And you watch them all the time?
Yes, we do.
Nothing's gonna happen to that playground.
We
Oh,
have an
no.
app on our phone,
Yes.
and everything's being recorded, so it's there for the protection of the equipment. And knock on wood, it's working. And the police department is making regular monitors down there and checking and stuff like that. We've had one little hiccup, but nothing major, and we want to keep it that way. But I think the people in the community are helping too, because if they see something, they say something, and that's what it's about. Because it's not just our playground;
right.
It's Vine Grove and Hardin County's playground. Because we've had people from New York and people coming in and visiting their families here and taking pictures, like you said on Facebook. We had a lady brought her grandchildren there, and they were in from New York, and it's getting us wear and tear on it, but I mean it's holding up real good.
But that means people are using it.
Yes,
and that's what you want out of the deal. And it is great that the community has taken ownership of it, because I mean there are a lot of people that have investments in it.
Yes.
You know, whether it's their time or their money, or whatever. But it's a community investment.
Yes. And with that being said, like, it's my hope that, you know, these kids are going down there with their parents or with their families, and like they're having fun, so they want to take care of it. And like my dad said, it's our playground, it's the community's playground. So, you know, to me, like, obviously, like, I'm not a parent, but that's our child.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's your kid.
Like, that's my kid. So I obviously want to see that it's taken care of, but, you know, it's become the community's kid, and, you know, we're all taking care of it, and we're all looking out for it, and I feel like that's part of what makes our community and what makes our town so great.
Yeah.
I work at an elementary school, and I hear almost every day, Miss Ritchie, I went and played at your daughter's playground yesterday. I went and played at your daughter's playground. I'm like, okay, you're taking good care of it, right? We talk about, you know, things to do on it, whatever.
But whenever Rachel goes down there, she looks at it, make sure it's clean, make sure the equipment's still good. But she don't like the recognition of the playground. I mean, people know Rachel, but she don't go down and say, hey, what do you think of my playground or anything like that. She just does what she has to do. Which,
again, makes me think she's an alien, because this is human nature. I mean, that's a lot of work. That's your passion. You know, if somebody owns a custom car and they put a lot of hours in it, they talk about every little bit of work that they've done on that custom car. Yeah. But for you to go down there and just to want to take care of what you've got and not share it, that's a pretty cool testament.
Thank you. But
there's a guy out there that helped make this a lot possible, giving up his time, and his name's Bobby Lynch. We call him the Vine Grove Angel, because he come down there and we spent many of hours, and his connections helped reach out to get the concrete wall poured and the concrete poured and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for him, we would have been hurting, because he kept pushing me and everybody that come down there in the evening to get things done so we could hit that timeline.
Yeah, and I know, and you talk about projects, as you're working through it and you're making, hundreds of sleds and doing golf scrambles and putting all kinds of sunscreen on because you got burnt out at a motorcycle ride. When you get down to the nitty gritty, there was a lot of work that went in. There's a lot of tireless hours that you guys put in, and just to get it to the finish line.
Yes, sir. But like with that being said, like even in like the building process, like before our community build in the July before we opened it, we had to do so much like groundwork to prepare it, and the playground company came down and was like, okay, this is what you needed to do, but we didn't want to pay them to do it. So, Bobby Lynch and my dad, and like a lot of other people really volunteered their time to come up and, help. But I feel like I learned, stuff that I would never have learned before, like how to tar a wall or how to use a post hole digger or, simple things that now I can use in my future.
Yeah, if we could just figured out how we could have got those dishes washed. Get that scared going. So, what else do you do besides build playgrounds? I mean, I know you play softball.
Yes.
And you're very passionate about that.
Yes, I am.
What else do you do?
What are you doing this week?
I mean, I'm involved in my church a little bit, and I play softball, go to school, I work on my project.
That's your hobby? Is the playground your hobby?
Yeah.
It's everything?
Yes.
Your friends know that if I go over to Rachel's house, we're going to watch the playground?
Okay, maybe not.
So what do you do?
I don't know.
Talk about boys? Is that it?
No.
Oh, no?
I don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that. That's why I didn't bring up the whole daughter-in-law thing, because
okay.
I know you don't have time for that. So a little birdie has told me, and I've seen a little bit on Facebook, that you are not done yet, correct?
Correct.
So share with everybody what is next for the Ritchie family.
We are taking on our next endeavor, and we are looking to put in a splash pad adjacent to the playground in Optimus Park.
Are you crazy?
Maybe a little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Maybe.
So a splash pad.
Yes, an all-inclusive one.
So basically we're doing the water version of the playground.
Yes, sir.
Like,
maybe
maybe
not as big.
You think so? Not as big,
not.
huh?
Yeah. Well,
You
go
never
ahead.
know.
You never know. We
that means yes, Jeff.
we have a go ahead.
At the same time, like, this is our next big endeavor, but I also want to make sure in doing this that I'm continuing my fight for the right of play and, spreading the importance of how play affects our lives, and not only as developing kids, but even into our adulthood. And in doing that, there are a few other ideas that, like, I want to bring to possible fruition, like, before, I graduate.
Okay. Well, before you graduate,
Yes.
See, you're an alien.
You got 3
I want to
years.
do this pad. I want to do this park. I want to do this project and this project. Oh yeah, before I, some people say, oh, before I retire. You're like, before I graduate.
Yes.
Well, we've seen other communities like Glendale's doing a playground now, and there's a place in North Carolina.
Oh yes.
North Carolina, all what is it called?
All play Fort Mill.
All play Fort Mill. They've reached out to Rachel and asked her what she did, what fundraising things she did. And that's another thing that she's talked about, that she wants to help other communities, maybe not spearhead it, but talk to them about the pros and cons, or the good things and the bad things we learned through our journey to help them raise money faster. Because, like she said, the fight for the right of play, it should go into every community. It shouldn't just be Vine Grove or Hardin County. And it's reaching out to other states. I mean, but the splash pad thing, it's I don't know if we're gonna do as much this time, like the community build, because it's going to be a lot of concrete. We do have a meeting set up with the mayor, the city engineer, and one of the splash pad companies. They're coming here in a couple weeks down to Vine Grove. We're going to look at it and see to get the pricing started.
Because there's no idea what this is going to cost yet.
No, go ahead, Rachel.
No.
Have you've not done the same research with this project as you did the other?
We've already been sent a few books to look at, but now we have like some contacts that we can get official numbers.
Yeah. See, here's where another one of those educational things is. The first playground, you go to the city and say, hey, we would like to do this. And the city was so impressed by what you've done that the city says, we want a splash pad, but there's only one way that we think this can be done. And that's you.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
A little bit.
Again, you're an alien. What city's going to reach out? Where are you going? What grade are you going in the fall?
I'm going to be in 10th grade.
A sophomore in high school. The city is reaching out to a sophomore in high school to build a splash park. That doesn't make a lot of sense, Rachel.
We must have done something right.
Yeah.
It's but we look at it, if we can help make our community better, then we're all for it. And like, she's kind of proven herself. Like a 9-year-old took this to here.
Yes.
We hope and pray that this time it's a little bit easier to get the funding, because they've seen the outcome of what she did.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not as much as the last playground. As the
Keeps
playground.
going back to that, Rachel.
I know, but I don't even know that it's about it being easier, because I don't want, we don't want anything ever handed to us, or anything like that. And I am fully prepared, put in the work, and I know what this is going to involve, and I'm signing up for that this time. I'm saying, like, I know the benefits that this playground is, resulted in, and so I don't even know yet what a splash pad can do for our community. And my goal ultimately is to bring play to every community or every kid or person that I can, and this is just yet another way that I feel like we can do that.
So, as a sophomore at North Arden High School, Trojan pride, I'm sure.
Yes.
As a sophomore at North Arden, I know you're already thinking about what you want to do, and I'm sure we have people listening going, this girl, as a third grader, coming up with this idea of this park, she's going to do some crazy stuff in her life. What exactly are your dreams in life? What do you want to be? What do you want to do whenever this whole thing of building playgrounds is done and you graduate?
I don't know that I want it to be done.
Okay.
I want to continue whatever I do. I want to continue to make positive change in our world, and I want to continue to have a positive impact. And in whatever way I find, doing that, there are a few careers that I've considered, like a possible pediatric therapist, or there's a part of me that, if at all possible, would like to take my foundation and turn it into my career in a way, and advocate for play and the importance of it in whatever way I can.
Wow, spoken like not a sophomore.
That's what I say.
So, if somebody wants to get on board for the splash park, or they want to, do you still need funding for the playground?
Yes, for maintenance, because we have an agreement with the city to maintain the playground till I graduate. Okay, so
we have a homework page at Kentucky'sHeartland.com where information is laid out on a post where they can do that. Share now. How can somebody help you guys out monetarily?
You can visit our Facebook page at Rachel's Fun for Everyone Project, or our website at www.rachelsfunforeveryone.com. And if you see us out in the community, say hey.
There you go.
If you want to give us any money, we'll appreciate
You'll
it.
You'll take that.
Yes.
You put it in the pocket and use it for good things. You did have a lot of corporate partners that came on board during the playground. Probably too many to even really think about.
Yes.
And you can name them, but if you forget one, you don't want to offend anybody that we forgot them. But at the playground, you can get down and see the thank you wall. She even thought of a thank you wall. Anybody it went from $10,000 and above, and then anything under $9,000 below, their names are on there, and there is a lot on that thank you wall. And it's a lot of corporate people that stepped up.
But I think it's yet another testament to what our community can do, big and small.
That's it. Well, if they could make a thank you wall for you, I don't think there is one that could be big enough. Because with the community, the kids that are getting a chance to play there, the community getting to see that in their park, and all the work that you've done, and bringing the community together, because the community helped raise those funds too. So it has been an honor to have you in.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It has been an honor to see you guys push this through. I'm looking forward to what's next.
Me too.
Now, I'm not, I mean, I'll be there for whatever you need, but it's a whole lot easier from my side watching you do it. But I was impressed when you were a third grader. I'm even more impressed now, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mom and Dad, you guys have done a fabulous job, and we appreciate you coming to our little Heartland because you guys have made a world of difference.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right, she's the alien, Rachel Ritchie. That's Mom and that's Dad. And this is Kentucky's Heartland. Again, you can find more info at kentuckysheartland.com. There's the show notes are there, and there's some homework there. So if you want to make a monetary donation to Rachel for the playground or for the splash pad, please make that, again, there's a link at kentuckysheartland.com. Thanks for watching.